Okay. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Academy Bite Size session. My name is Angela, and I'm going to be the moderator of today's session. And together in Zoom, I have the special speaker with me, Mia, and also accompanied by Emily, while the rest of the Academy team members are joining us in YouTube as well. So as we're all probably aware that last Saturday, October 10th, we celebrated the World Mental Health Day. And in this session, we are going to discuss more. Mia will talk a lot about the importance of asking a simple questions, are you okay? And how it might affect and change someone's life. But then before we go deeper, let's hear a simple introduction from Mia first.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I am the studio manager out of Melbourne, Australia. I personally, as we'll go talk about a little bit further, I personally myself have had my own struggles with mental health, and through my own experiences and through others, I've realised the importance of reaching out to our friends and family if they seem a little bit off. So today, we'll be looking a little bit more about that. We might be discussing a few, bits and pieces on not just how we can ask, but also what to do if they're not okay, because I think that's a really scary answer, to hear that someone might be struggling. It's, how do you move forward from that?
Okay, thank you so much, Mia. But there's no fun if we don't ask some trivia questions or fun facts about you. So actually, I have 3 questions in my head right now. So the first one is, we know, all of us know that you're a cat lover, but then what makes you love cat? Some people think that they are naughty creatures, but then, what makes you love them?
Well, firstly, I have to agree that they are naughty, very naughty creatures, as many of you would have seen. My cat Ozzy has made numerous appearances on my at meetings, but I really love the independence of them. I also have a dog, and there's a significant commitment to time, energy, walking, training, and cleaning up as well. So that's probably one of the reasons that I've had cats over dogs, in the sense of my ability to look after an animal and be able to commit fully to that animal without mistreating them or having them feel lonely.
Okay, great answer. Toss, cat lovers. Okay. The second question is, what was your favorite subject in school?
English or art.
Why English or arts? Yeah.
Because I was an avid reader as a kid, so English was very, very, very easy for me. It didn't require a lot of extra knowledge. I picked up syntax, grammar, all those tricky things with English very, very easily, just due to constantly reading and picking it up by osmosis, really. And art, because I just found it was enjoyable, even when it was tough. When you're trying to think of that creative spark, it was challenging, but it was always rewarding.
Okay, so I'm assuming that you're avoiding math back in school.
Absolutely. Sometimes I still count on my fingers, so I rely on a calculator and then Google check the answer after that.
Okay. Well, the last question is actually the most interesting one, in my opinion. But then this is gonna be the hardest question for you. So I would like to ask you to imagine when there is one condition when you are stranded on an island with 3 Alephians. Who first come into your mind, and why these people? Okay, so imagine that you're stranded in an island with 3 Alephians. Who are these people and why? Why them?
I have to go with Phil first off the bat. Phil is an avid camper and hiker and can recognize native edibles and things like that. So I think he'd be really, really, really valuable from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I think Emily as well. We need to have someone to, like, you know, oversee us and tell us when our idea might have flaws and things like that, and to keep us all under control. Who else? I'd have to go with an engineer. So if anyone, you know, is good at math and can put things together and all the rest of it. So I'll take any engineer because I know nothing. So anybody that knows just that little bit more than me is still, you know, much more useful than I am. Is that 3?
Yeah, 3. Okay, so that's actually a pretty much good combination. I mean, you combine Phil, Emily, and also engineer. So I guess the survival level is going to be like increased. Nice answer. Okay, so yeah, I guess that's much for the introduction. So without further ado, I'll give it back to you, Mia. The YouTube floor is yours. Good luck.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for everyone for joining. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and recognise that Aboriginal sovereignty was never ceded. The World Health Organization reported that 1 in 4 people globally will experience a mental or neurological disorder in their lifetime. But stigma and discrimination play a big part in people not seeking help. Today, we will be talking about how to reach out to someone in a professional setting. There are many reasons why people may not reach out for help. If you can think of any, I'd love you to be able to submit your answers via our Slido QR code here. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to answer while I speak a little bit about one of the reasons that someone may not reach out for help. I knew someone that when I saw them on a regular basis, they didn't seem okay. You know, so I reached out and just sort of asked, you know, is this person okay? Is there something I can do to help? You know, what's going on? For the first few times, you know, they reassured me that everything was fine, that it really was just, you know, everyday stresses, finances, job, kids, you know, all the rest of that sort of thing. But their distress actually increased each time. And, you know, that was a really big marker that things weren't actually improving. So I reached out again and we went and sat down and had a bit of a chat. And it turned out that this particular person was actually no longer safe at home and did not know who they could reach out to, or, you know, and felt very, very, very guilty about what was going on. We were able that day to sort of give them support and, you know, have them start an escape plan to remove themselves from the unsafe situation. But it's a very scary thing to admit, whether, you know, you don't want the person making you unsafe finding out. That could, you know, potentially cause more trouble. You don't know if people will judge you. You don't want to burden people with, you know, your problems. Angela, have there been any responses?
Yeah, wait, I'm checking the Slido now. Wait, yeah. Okay, so there are actually a lot of answers that we received in the Slido. It's a fear of being discriminated. It's about judgment, feeling ashamed. Again, fear of judgment. And then, yeah, some are saying that they're being afraid. And then it's about trust and ego. But then I think the majority said that they can be easily judged by telling their stories. So that's, I think, most of the reasons why they cannot ask for help easily. And people might assume that they cannot afford professional help, and then the services are too expensive. So yeah.
Of course. And that's just it. You know, there are so many reasons that someone might not reach out. One of the most debilitating aspects of a lot of mental health experiences is the inability to reach out. So, you know, as we've said, you know, there's a number of reasons that people might not reach out to you. So it's so important, you know, as individuals connecting and communicating, that we do check in on our peers, on our colleagues, on our friends, and on our family. But before we actually get to that stage, we need to address some things with ourselves first, such as, do we have the headspace ourselves? It's important to look after yourself first to ensure that you can offer the support that's actually needed. Have you picked out a good time? The location and the time that you select it's really important. If people are upset, you don't want them breaking down in public places. That's going to cause, potential embarrassment and things like that. The other thing is like allowing time to let that person speak and not kneecapping them, by saying, I've only got 15 minutes to kind of chat about this. You also have to prepare yourself for answers that you might not want to hear. The answer might be distressing. It could be highly concerning. It could be something that's, shocking to you. And it's important to assess whether you're ready to hear those answers. So how do we proceed with asking? Let's look at whom we should be asking. I won't give you like a checklist of items to tick off because everyone's different. We spend so much time with our colleagues that we're actually really well placed to notice the small changes that might suggest something bigger. Someone might be more tired than usual, less talkative than usual, less sociable than usual. They might be running late when previously they didn't. The key phrase here is than usual. These changes might be a sign that someone needs extra support. So let's say you notice something's up and you decide to check in with them. Here's how you might like to approach it. Ask her, are you okay in a place that's comfortable, where there'll be no pressure to end the conversation quickly? Comment on the changes that you've noticed without judgment and let them know you're concerned for them. So a good way, as an example, if they're not performing in their job or if it's something that could be a touchy subject, is to really approach that situation, placing that person in the center of the concern. It's not, we've noticed you're not doing your job as well. It's, we've noticed that there's some changes in your workload. That's not like you. We're really concerned that there's something else impacting you. How can we help? So we're really centering that person and their feelings and their experiences within this. Be relaxed in your approach. Don't march them into a meeting room with 2 other managers. That can be quite distressing. Even if all 3 people are there to, express their concern, it can feel like they're being ganged up on, even if that's not the case. You don't want them to feel like they're under investigation. Questions that start with what's been happening or why do you think that is can help the person open up. If they do say they're not okay, what next? So firstly, listen without judgment. It can be really, really hard to do this, but it's really important to not pass any judgment at all. We live in a world where so many things can be fixed and fixed quickly. And it can be really tempting to jump in and try to push someone's worries away. It's hard to hear when someone you care about is in pain or struggling, but you need to try and sit with the discomfort and remind yourself that your support is critical and it's also not about you. We should also avoid saying things like, I know what you're going through and I've been there and things like that. It can be really tempting to share our own stories, but it's not quite helpful because it makes us the focus of the conversation rather than the other person. Other phrases that aren't very helpful are look on the bright side or just focus on the positives. We might think that we're helping them by being upbeat, but it can make them feel worse. We can also make them feel like what they're going through isn't important, and it's also not a solution to the actual problem. Instead, take what they say seriously and say, you're not alone, or that sounds really stressful or difficult, or how can I help you? Or you can say, I'm here for you and I want to listen to what you have to say. Try to avoid rushing the conversation and try not to be afraid of sitting with silence. Give that person some space and quiet to find the words to express what they're going through. I find it's helpful to do this in a really safe space for that person, and having an activity on hand. It can be very difficult to have someone staring at you expecting an answer, especially when you may not be able to word those feelings exactly in that moment. So there's a few companies, say in Australia, as an example, that send out little pottery kits so with place, it gives you something to do with your hands. It gives the person the ability to look away and look down and time to gather their thoughts and put their feelings into words. Once they've shared what they're going through, help them think about one small step that they might take to improve their situation. Giving an objective outsider's perspective can be really helpful, but bear in mind that it's something that they may not be capable of. It could be that they need to see their doctor. It could be physically health related, or a psychologist if they've been feeling low for more than 2 weeks. They also might need to talk to their boss about an issue that's taking place at work and they're nervous about that. And they might need encouragement to think about what they can do differently. Or some help thinking about what's causing their troubles, or some help to figure out what would make life easier. And this is also a really great way to offer support as a friend, as a peer, and not, trying to fix them. It's things like, could I help you do your groceries one day? Is there something else I can do for you to give you some more time to deal with this? You might also find that even though you have prepared yourself to ask this question and have this conversation, the person just does not want to talk. We have to accept that and move on. Please don't take that as a slight against yourself, but just simply as that person not being ready to talk. Just let them know, though, that if they ever want to have a chat, if they ever need to speak about anything to do with their feelings or or whatever they're coping with, that you're always there, and to just yell out if you need them. And whether the conversation takes place or not, or whether they, just would like to push it back or potentially even speak to someone else, make sure you follow up with them. Make a joint decision to spend some time together in the near future and see how they're going. A lot of this might sound like fairly intuitive, and it's probably something that you definitely do with people who you're closer with, such as your close friends, your family. But it's really important to reach out to your colleagues as well. We want to give people more confidence to be there for each other when things are tough. And 2020 has been a perfect example of when things get tough and community can pull together. It's 3 little words that we can all ask. And if we all did, we could change the world. So I'll leave you with this final question. Who will you ask? Thank you for your time, and back to you, Angela.
Okay, Mia, thank you so much for the presentation. Okay, I think while waiting some people to submit their questions in YouTube or maybe Slido, I'm going to discuss first about the Slido response, if you don't mind, because actually we do have like 15 answers about what may prevent someone from asking for help. So there's one person said that he or she probably worried that the other person might not be able or want to help, and it might be risk their friendship, or not wanting to impose on another person, as everyone has their own problems. What do you think of that, Mia?
I think it's absolutely fair and this is why we say if someone doesn't want to talk, that's absolutely fine. I think asking, are you okay? Letting people know that, hey, even if you don't want to talk to me or, us as colleagues, that's absolutely fine. But there is an understanding that mental health is important, that if you do need to take some time off or, need to have a medical day, that's absolutely fine to get things sorted. It doesn't always have to be about the actual situation. It could just be in ways that us as colleagues can offer support to someone that's in need.
Okay, sure. And then there is another one who put a comment that they don't actually have someone to speak with, no close friends. So what should we do?
That's a really tough question. Firstly, I think, to that person, there are always people out there that are willing to help, There's people out there that care about you much more than you realize, If someone does ask you if you're okay, they, 90% of the time, they genuinely want to help. They care for you. They don't want to see someone upset. And it's, again, up to you whether you choose to take them up on that offer. But there are also some really phenomenal resources out there as well. And especially with, things online, there's, Reddit and Facebook communities that are there to help you out with, any questions that you might have about seeking help, or about what people do that are normal or not, and I say that with quote unquote, because I think normal is it's not a great word to use. But, sometimes people just do feel down. That's okay, and it might help to see what other people are experiencing in order, in order to just feel more comfortable with yourself. You don't even have to share. That's something that I personally did. I would jump onto forums and just see what other people were experiencing. And even if I didn't participate in that particular group, it sort of made me feel less alone, and, there are always communities that you can reach out to.
Okay, thank you so much, Mia. And then we have another question from William. William is asking, how do you tell when somebody is not in the mood of asking for your opinions when they are sharing their issues? How can you tell?
Firstly, I'd go with body language. The rounded shoulders, a closed off kind of face. The other thing is, if they say, hey, it's fine, I'm fine, even though they're clearly not, that's fine. It's really important to just pick up on their general demeanor. I mean, I feel like most people can pick up when someone isn't receptive to what they're saying, even when they're being polite. Again, ask if they want to chat, or just have, for me, even a clap on the shoulder and just being like, hey, bud, hope everything's doing well. Always here if you need to chat. That's it. You can keep it short and simple. It can be a quick text message. It can be, an email.
Agreed.
And sometimes, you can also, even if you notice someone's not okay, just send them something that'll make them laugh. You don't even have to mention how they're feeling. You can just send them memes or a funny video or something that you feel that they would enjoy. And that can often just make people feel cared for,
Yeah.
It looks like I've also had a query about, stigmatization. I think, the stigmatization it's very slowly starting to drop. Unfortunately, the stigma comes from a number of different things, and it's, honestly, it's just rooted in not understanding how things work. And, mental health doesn't discriminate. It doesn't pick, it doesn't care who you are. You can be Britney Spears, rich, powerful, beautiful, and it can still drag you down. And dealing with stigma is always going to be really, really difficult. It's okay to not want to share everything about what you're experiencing, but there is a level of communication that needs to happen in order to, let people know you're okay, but you're having a rough patch, or you do need some extra support, but you'd rather that support be in a capacity that is tangible. So is that, covering my shift for a couple of hours while I just manage some life admin to take that weight off my shoulders, Stigma is only going to be broken by talking about it as well, and just by being open to people who are strong enough to step forward and talk about this. And, it's, the more we talk about it, the more we hear about individual experiences with mental health, the less stigmatized it will be.
Sure. Yeah, I think I have to agree on that, Mia, because I'm really sad to see that some people are still underestimating about mental health. It was like become taboo. It used to be, but now I'm really glad that the society is becoming more open to talk about this, and then more people are realizing actually this is a real problem. Mental health problem is real. So that's why I guess this topic is really important, and I'm glad that actually you brought this up. So thank you so much for that. And then we have another comment from Sean. That nicely done and very well presented topic, and this is actually really relevant on about to what's going on in our society right now. And then probably I would like to ask another question from Rebecca. Do you think it will be better to be a good listener or to give problem solutions when someone you're close with is facing a mental health issue? What do you think about it?
I really think it's dependent on the situation. I think obviously if your friend has started crying, it's definitely time to be a good listener and, you know, when COVID is over, a good hugger.
Okay.
But I also think, I also think that when you're helping problem solve, instead of using words like have you done or have you tried, that way, you know, you're really putting that back on the person who might also already be feeling helpless. Rather than asking about solutions, it's I feel, you know, start these sentences with, well, in my situation, I might do this, or I feel in that situation. That gives the person time to breathe. You can make suggestions that, you know, without sounding like you're telling them what to do or that they're doing things wrong. You know, you can make suggestions. But at the end of the day, the best support you can offer as a friend, as a colleague, is to, again, those tangible things of, can I pick up your groceries? Can I make you a meal? Is there anything that I can do to take a small responsibility off your shoulder? You know, to give you that headspace to tackle the bigger things or the harder things.
Okay, yep, that makes sense. And another question from Farisha. If someone has reached out to you and that you're not in the headspace to actually help them, how can we communicate this to them without actually discouraging them, since asking for help takes a lot in the first place?
Firstly, I think the first question you need to ask of them is, you just need to qualify whether it's an emergency or first and foremost, because that's going to direct you, that's going to pretty much tell you which way you're going to go. If it is an emergency, the best thing I would advise is to look up your local resources, your local free lines, any clinics that you can, you know, any information, any clinics, anyone that can sort of take action, a physical action there. That one is a very, very tricky one though. And there really is no right or wrong there. If they're going through a rough patch and they're reaching out, it's okay if you're not in their headspace right that moment to say, I'm really proud of you for reaching out. Right now, I'm in a business meeting. I'm with the kids. I will give you a call in X time when I have the actual space, and just make this very clear, to dedicate to you. So you are making it very clear that right now you might not be able to fully give this your attention. If it's something that is also an ongoing issue, you know, so something that, you know, my friends and I, a lot of my friends have had mental health issues across the years. So ranging from generalized anxiety disorders, depression, PTSD, B cluster personality disorders, you know, we've, you know, I've sort of experienced it a bit on all ends. I think one of the biggest things is to just be empathetic. You know, it's okay if you don't have the headspace. You're not a professional. It's okay to basically just send them pictures of kittens and animals, and, you know, just support
memes.
them.
Yeah, I do have a belief that actually sending animal videos is a love language in a way.
It is. And it can be very much, I'm really sorry you're feeling that way. Right now, I personally don't have the headspace, but what I can do is help support you in this way.
Okay. And then another question, Mia, since I saw lots of comments in Slido, and then there are two things about professionalism and also mental health. Yeah, lots of people mention that actually one of the reasons people don't reach out or asking for help is because it might seem unprofessional. What do you think of that?
Well, the same way I would say, is it unprofessional to have a cold? Is it unprofessional to have, you know, a stomach bug? Your brain is an organ, just like your heart, just like your lungs. It's the organ that keeps you breathing, you know, and it is chemical based. Sometimes your brain can get sick too. If you know, it can't be considered unprofessional. It's a health issue, you know. These things happen the same way that you know, you can catch gastro, well, not that you can catch mental health problems, but the same way that you can fall ill. You might have zero history of depression in your family, in your life, And it can still affect you if you, say, lose your job, or if you, with the loss of a loved one or a breakup. All of those things can impact you. It might not be forever, but just like a, you know, a sprained ankle, you have to look after yourself. You've got to look after yourself like you are unwell. And that goes for your job as well. You know, to me, it's unprofessional for a company to call a mental health issue, you know, unprofessional. That, to me, we look after our staff. We should be looking after our staff and supporting our staff the same way we would if they had the flu.
Okay, yep. Thank you so much for that, Mia. And then probably this is gonna be the final question on the floor. Someone is asking in Slido, when should you seek for professional help?
So I'm a big believer in therapy across the board. I've attended therapy for mental health problems. I've also attended therapy to help me be better in my job and find solutions on time management. So personally, there's always a good time to seek professional help. There should be no stigma in talking to a therapist. It could be simply, you know, one of the things I read is that a therapist is a common sense filter. Sometimes, you know, your brain thoughts get a bit jumbled in there. What they do is they help pull your thoughts out and categorize them. They file them a little bit for you. So you could be stressed with work. That's great. They're going to help you get through it, but they're also professionally trained. This is their job. So they are educated to know how to respond, to know what to say, to know exactly how to help you properly. Your friends are there to support you. Your colleagues should be checking in to help support you get any help that you might need. And the other thing is, depression, anxiety disorders, a lot of them are actually chemical imbalances, literal imbalances in your brain. So as I like to say, if you can't make your own dopamine, store-bought's fine.
Okay, I see. Thank you, Mia. But then there's still another question. I promise this is gonna be the one final question. So there's one more. It's about how to adjust the communication results with expectations at the beginning. So it's like probably when you're asking for help, I mean, how can you align? I mean, how can you match the result with your expectation in the very beginning? How to manage the expectation? Yeah.
As the asker or the person who needs support?
As the person who needs support.
Remember that healing isn't linear. There is no project mapping. There is no forecasting mental health. You will have your bad days. You will have your good days. That's okay. In order to, one of the ways, I mean, Avis has touched on journaling. That's a way to, you know, track your responses to see if there's any patterns and things like that. But, you know, at the end of the day, yeah, healing's not linear. You're going to have your good days. You're going to have your bad days, and that's okay. You're still healing.
Yeah, I do agree. Healing is a process, and then yeah, we do all have that. And then yeah, I think that's gonna be the final question. So to wrap up Mia's session, now we all know that how actually asking a simple question like how are you or are you okay is actually really important. And another part is listen without judgment is also really important. And I think we can just like start practicing on that more and more often. Okay, so thank you so much, Mia, for your session. I guess everyone is actually really like this session, and then because this is really an important one. So next events, I think Academy, we're going to have Phil, our head of research and insight, on his first webinar in partnership with Acoustic next week, actually on 21st October, and he'll be sharing his perspective about what banking and financial services companies can do to continue to innovate in this contactless or virtual world. So that's going to be our next event. So please stay tuned for more information. And then we're also still open to invite you to collaborate more as a speaker for our next academic event, also the writer for our Medium publication. So feel free to ping us if you have any kind of referral or yourself going to volunteer on the next session. And I think that's all for today. Thank you so much once again, Mia, and thank you so much for everyone's active participation in this session. So don't forget to ask, are you okay to your surrounding? Let's start that good habit. And then, yeah, because it will probably change their life and will make their Wednesday actually better. So see you in our next academy session. Thank you so much and bye-bye.
And just a shout out to Andy for the slides. I think you did a phenomenal job. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Andy. Thank you so much, Mia. Have a nice Wednesday. Bye-bye.